Type is form that speaks for itself. Everything that has been written or otherwise communicated with type sticks to the innocent letter form. Blackletter has disappeared from our general everyday communication. The reason for the common avoidance of blackletter is not in the script itself, but in its elaborate history. What happened? As in real life, it is useful to have a closer look at the past in order to get a rough impression. We have to look back hundreds of years to find the oldest ancestor of blackletter. Well, Roman square capitals, also called capitalis, is the basis of all modern typefaces, not to forget the older cousins, runes and Greek letters. The family branches out. We can find different scripts on the way to the direct ancestor of blackletter, the Carolingian minuscule, also known as minuscula. The early appearance of any kind of blackletter is dated in the mid-12th century in the French Gothic period. First, the handwriting script, and after that the print versions, textura, rotunda, bastarda, schwabacher, fracta, and their successors enlarged the typeface family. With the advent of the Antiqua branch began a heated dispute between the different types. Later we will have a closer look at this particular debate, but for now, let's get to know the blackletter family with all of their different characters. The broad term for this ancient script is blackletter, but there are many other words that describe this antiquated style of writing. Fraktur or broken type, German script, Gothic script or Old English. To avoid any confusion, blackletter is the name for any printed script. The name of the handwriting is current. Let me explain these. On the one hand, Fraktur is a notable script of this type. However, it is also used as a collective name for all blackletter types. That makes sense when you think that Fraktur equals fracture, meaning broken, not in the sense of a medical fracture or broken bone, but in the broken forms of the blackletter lines. The angles in the letter forms of the typeface reference Gothic architecture, exporting the broken arches in combination with the pointed arches in cathedrals of the time. Blackletter is often associated with Germany as the script was used there the longest. However, we will see that this type style is not unique to Germany and has actually been used throughout all Western Europe. The term Gothic was first used to describe this type character in the 15th century Italy, as Renaissance humanists mistakenly associated this script with the Goths and disclaimed it to be barbaric. Blackletter is sometimes called Old English, but it is not to be confused with the Old English language despite the popular and mistaken belief that the language was written with blackletter. To summarise, here are the different scripts of the blackletter type. The first blackletter script was developed in the 13th century and quickly spread over Western Europe. Based on the common change in architecture to break up round shapes, all of the forms are completely broken with diamond-shaped serifs. This narrow, tightly set letter form resembles Gothic churches. The dark text colour and tall narrow letters gave the typeface a strict beauty and spiritual charm. In 1455, the first printed book, the 42-line Latin Bible, was printed by Gutenberg in textura. The former script textura did not gain acceptance in Italy, therefore the rotunda was developed in the 14th century. This typeface is less angular. Broken forms are indicated but not completely executed. Rotunda is light and loosely spaced, ensuring good readability while lending a solemn charm. In 1470, the bastarda as an intermediate form between textura and rotunda was developed by Gutenberg and mostly used in France. These scripts were designed to provide a simplified letter that was appropriate for the copying of books or documents of minor value or importance. The bastarda is followed by the Schwabacher script, which became the standard printed typeface in Germany during the time of Reformation and farmers' rebellions. Therefore, this script can be described as most modest and folksy of all blackletter scripts. The lowercase forms are relatively wide and have a lot of rounded shapes. Based on the bastarda, the Fraktur was the last blackletter typeface to be developed at the beginning of the 16th century. Due to its fine, delicate letter forms and aesthetic charm, the Fraktur typeface was by far the most common. the end of the 15th century, blackletter was commonly used in Western Europe, but this unquestioned dominance would soon change. At the end of the 15th century, the humanistic Antiquans designed the opposite of the blackletter script. At this point, we have to fire the starting pistol for an immense dispute within these two scripts, the antique Fraktur dispute that will last over hundreds of years. Let the battle begin! Very soon, Antica gained favour in Italy, France and other Catholic regions. In the early 16th century, literature mostly was set in Fraktur. Nevertheless, scientific publications were always printed in Antica. As part of the Reformation, Luther chose the Schwabacher script for the translation of the Holy Bible, whereas the Catholic Church printed in Latin using Antica. Remember, we are situated at the beginning of a typeface dispute. One Protestant edition used a Fraktur letter when the topic was salvation or other positive events, but Antica when it was about Satan, hell or eternal damnation. The world's first weekly newspaper was printed in German and set in Fraktur. The Relation is considered to be the first true newspaper ever printed. Little by little, the common use of blackletter died out. After the French Revolution, blackletter almost completely disappeared. But however, Fraktur was still used in Germany as national script. The Antica blackletter dispute continued into the 20th century. Which is the correct typeface to use? Fraktur had a great history and became known as German script, but Antica would increase legibility all over Europe. This debate grew into an ideological war. At this time, both scripts, Antica and Fraktur, were used in German publications, Fraktur as the main German typeface, with foreign words in Antica. Over time, Antica became more and more fashionable, but blackletter was still the main national typeface. In 1911, a very close vote, 85 to 82, in the German Parliament rejects an effort to make Antica the main German typeface. But the whole situation drastically changed with the rise of the Nazi regime, with Fraktur being glorified as the only true German typeface. However, the regime itself finally dealt the official death blow to Fraktur when it proclaimed the typeface a Jewish one in 1941. Of course, this simply was a lie with intention. In fact, Fraktur was not practical as the main typeface for a country that intended to obtain world power when other nations no longer used it. Antica won the battle. This can be dated as the historical end of a common use of blackletter as an everyday script. Still, there are some interesting typographic related parts that make this script a fundamentally different one from everyday serif and sans serif typefaces. While we claim that we can't read an old typeface, this is often because we have never really tried to read a text set in blackletter. Based on construction and typographic rules, blackletter has the potential to be even more legible. That is based on the following facts. There are more letter forms with ascenders and descenders, hence letters can be recognised extremely quickly. Ligatures, meaning joining two letters to one single glyph, increase the legibility as well. The two different S letter forms, large and small, avoid confusion in accentuation. The long S has to be used in the middle of the word, and the short S at the beginning and in the end. Unfortunately, there are not many fonts that can be used in a typographically correct way on a computer. Some electronic fonts don't contain all of the ligatures and letters, especially the long S letter, which is often replaced by the short S, just as using only capitals can lead to typographically incorrect usage of blackletter typefaces. Although Antica has won the battle in the ancient script dispute, the blackletter script remains present in everyday life, for example in road signs, pub signs and beer brands. Heavy metal bands and American rappers use blackletter to suggest aggression and appreciate its provocative potential. Blackletter script makes up some of the most popular tattoo typefaces in the West. Today, designers and printers are carefully pulling these treasures back into the light and hope that they will once again be freed from political, religious or other prejudicial sentiments. Based on its rich graphic nature, the letter forms are so fundamentally different from everyday serif and sans serif typefaces. Keep in mind that Blackletter is a beautiful part of typography and history, an artwork in itself with high practicality.